Please join me in welcoming General David Petraeus to the podium.
2009 is a very significant year in Iraq. As it notes, it is a transition year. It's a year during which all of the non-U.S. coalition members have departed or will depart. We are obviously drawing down our forces. We have just completed the withdrawal of our combat elements from the cities in accordance with the U.S.-Iraq Security Agreement, and we're also changing our focus. So we're going from being the primary conductors of combat operations to supporting Iraqi forces. And they did have the provincial elections this past January. Interestingly, the parties that succeeded were those that were least associated with Iran and most associated with more nationalist and secular tendencies rather than the more religious and, again, Iranian-oriented parties. It's been fascinating to watch Iraqracy in action, because it is not democracy as we know it. It is something different, but it is certainly something in which the people are represented and in which the people have a say, and they will go to the polls in significant numbers next January. There are still numerous challenges. There are still al-Qaeda elements, and there are certainly still Shia extremists. There's reconciliation with some of them. There have been some detainee releases that have been used to pursue some of that with the Iraqi government, but there's no question but that Iran still does fund, train, equip, and direct to varying degrees some of the groups that are still active inside Iraq. In the month of June, despite the horrific, high sensational attacks that we did see, did indeed go down to the lowest as well. Okay, let's talk about Afghanistan. I thought that this would be the longest campaign of what was then called the Long War, and I think that has proven to be accurate. Afghanistan is going to take sustained, substantial commitment. More forces, which indeed are on the way. We're going from about 30,000 at the beginning of the year to about 68,000 or so by this fall. You can see, though, how indeed the violence has escalated. There's a very distinct cycle. You can see how the levels have gone up each year, in particular 2007, and indeed now. Some of the reason right now, to be sure, is because our forces are on the offensive and they are seeking to take away, again, some of these safe havens. But some of it also because the Taliban is indeed trying to attack before we can build our forces up and before we can indeed launch further offensives. Very good operational security. I mean, the fact is that while bin Laden remains a very iconic and very important symbolic figure, he is certainly not issuing even strategic direction, much less day-to-day direction of any kind. Nonetheless, don't get me wrong, we would still certainly like to find him. But I mean, he is also in an area in which we do not operate on the ground, and obviously that complicates things enormously as well. And to be candid, they're a tiny bit uncomfortable in some respects. I mean, because first of all, I think that both of them, and both commanders-in-chief have, been deadly serious about what it is they're doing, truly committed to the welfare of the country and the men and women who serve it in uniform. One was in the final years of, obviously, when I had the kind of close contact that we had, the other in the early years. What I will say is that the processes that we have gone through with President Obama and his administration have been very good, frankly. We met the day after they took office, and we had the meeting on Iraq, and I was going to get on the plane and head back to the Central Command headquarters. They said, not so fast. 2 days from now, we're going to meet on Afghanistan. Each of those began the process of a roughly 60-day review. I very strongly supported the decision that was made on Iraq. I think it was a very pragmatic and good decision on the way forward for Iraq, and feel the same way about the Afghanistan-Pakistan strategy. We have had every opportunity for input, for consultation. We've had subsequent meetings with the President and many more with the varying levels of Principals Committee, Deputies Committee, certainly Chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the Secretary of Defense.
There's nothing harder right now than thinking about the role of the U.S. abroad. In the times of economic crisis, in the times of military intervention around the world, these hard issues are things that are going to affect our community. We are the third largest military investment in the nation in the Puget Sound area. These are issues that are important to us. Please join me in thanking General Petraeus for his remarks this evening.